Okay, let's finish our reading for Tuesday's task. Left off kind of in the middle here. We're finding out what kind of presents they get. And as you can see, they get really excited. They get new books. So let's see what else they got since we got cut off a little bit. So a little man who treasured clothes above all else carefully laid his new pants and sweater aside and dashed for a clean sheet of brown paper to make a cover for his book. And throughout the day, as he lay upon the deerskin rug, looking at the bright, shining pictures of faraway places, turning each page as if it were gold, he suddenly squinted down at his hands, glanced at the page he had just turned, and then dashed into the kitchen to wash again, just to make sure. Okay, so this kind of plays into Little Man's character about needing everything to be clean and perfect. So we see that it's a funny description to see that he would turn a few pages, really admiring each page, and then go to the kitchen and wash his hands again before turning a few more pages. So that's pretty sweet. And we see how important books were, and also we know that this kind of goes to the first chapter where they're giving these used books and how, new books were not very common. After the church services, the Averys returned home with us for the Christmas dinner. All 8 of the Avery children, including the 4 preschoolers, crowded into the kitchen with the boys and me, smelling the delicious aromas and awaiting the call to eat. But only the eldest girls, who were helping Mama, Big Mom, and Mrs. Avery prepare the finishing touches to the meals, were allowed to remain. The rest of us were continuously being shooed out by Big Ma. Finally, the announcement we were all waiting for was made, and we were allowed to begin the Christmas feast. The meal lasted for over 2 hours, through firsts, seconds, and thirds, talk and laughter, and finally dessert. When we were finished, the boys and I, with Claude and TJ, went outside, but the half-inch layer of snow made everything sloppy, so soon we went back in and joined the adults by the fire. Shortly afterward, there was a timid knock on the front door. Stacy opened the door and found Jeremy Sims standing there, looking frozen and very frightened. As he peered into the bright room, everyone turned to stare at him. Stacy glanced around at Papa, then back at Jeremy. You want to come in?" he asked awkwardly. Jeremy nodded and stepped hesitantly inside. As Stacy motioned him toward the fire, Uncle Hammer's eyes narrowed, and he said to Papa, "He looks like a Sims." "I believe he is," agreed Papa. "Then what the devil—" "Let me handle it," Papa said. Jeremy, who had heard, flushed a deep red and quickly handed Mama a burlap bag. I brung them for y'all." Mama took the bag, and as she opened it, I peeped over her shoulder. The bag was full of nuts. "Nuts?" I questioned. "Nuts. Why we got more nuts now than we know that—" "Cassie," Mom scowled. "What have I told you about this mouth of yours?" Then she turned to Jeremy. "This is very thoughtful of you, Jeremy, and we appreciate them. Thank you." Jeremy nodded slightly as if he did not know how to accept her thanks, and stiffly handed a slender, paper-wrapped object to Stacy. "Made this for ya," he said. Stacy looked at Papa to see if he should take it. For a long moment, Papa studied Jeremy. Then he nodded. It ain't much," he stammered, as Stacy tore off the wrapping. "Made it myself." Stacy slid his fingers down the smooth, sanded back of the wooden flute. "Go ahead and try it," said a pleased Jeremy. "It blows real nice." Again, Stacy looked at Papa, but this time Papa gave no indication what he should do. "Thanks, Jeremy. It's real nice," he said finally. Then, flute in hand, he stood uncomfortably by the door, waiting for Jeremy to leave. When Jeremy did not move, Papa asked, "You Charlie Sims' boy?" Jeremy nodded. "Yes, sir. Does your daddy know you're here?" Jeremy bit his lower lip and looked at his feet. No, sir, I reckon not." "Then I expect you'd better you'd be getting home soon, for he come looking for you." "Yes, sir," said Jeremy, backing away. As he reached the door, I cried after him, "Merry Christmas, Jeremy!" Jeremy looked back and smiled shyly. "Merry Christmas to y'all, too." TJ made no comment on Jeremy's visit until both Papa and Uncle Hammer had left the room. He was afraid of Papa and downright terrified of Uncle Hammer, so he never had much to say when either was around. But now that they had gone outside with Mr. Avery, he said, "You ain't gonna keep that thing, are you?" Okay, so that's actually our reading for today. So now we know that Jeremy shows up. And if you're wondering who's Jeremy, remember that he is, first off, Lillian Jean's brother, which is why the Sims family has a bad reputation, right? Because we know the rest of the Sims are not the nicest. That's to say the least. And we also know that he's the one that walks often to school and doesn't take the bus, even before it broke down. He would walk and try to meet them. Okay, so some important details there. Question number 2 for today, though, is asking about Mr. Morrison's difficulties. So as you can see, we have many to choose from. On any of these will work. I think the fact that it says them didn't care who they killed, we weren't nothing to them, no better than dogs. Killed. I'm going to just choose those 3 short lines. Okay, then I'm going to go here. What challenges did Mr. Morrison face in the past? So if you go in the text, it says, so he's talking here, so we need another little quote. And that only has 1. So the one that has 1 plus, this is the end of the quote, so we need the one that has 2. This is on page 8. So this means, so this is where you want to explain. This means that the Night Riders showed up to Mr. Morrison's home and started murdering everybody. So this shows that Mr. Morrison a great tragedy since. So why was this a tragedy for Mr. Morrison? Well, he lost like his whole family from this butcher. So he lost all his sisters. His parents tried to fight, but they lost their lives too. And added to this tragedy is the fact that his family didn't even do anything. The 2 men who probably didn't do anything either showed up to their house for advice, and so his family was just murdered because the 2 men happened to choose them to get advice from. Okay, so this concludes our tasks for the day. I will meet you here, same time, same place, tomorrow for part 3 of our week.